Let me know when we're live. Mike? Good to go. Okay. So, Jeff and Ahmed just said that they were going to be late, but besides that, I was the only one who did not set in their regrets. Okay. So, territorial acknowledgement. The Board of Directors acknowledges that the University of Waterloo is on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee people. Our organization operates on Haldeman Tract, land promised to the Six Nations, which includes 6 miles on both sides of the Grand River. Okay. Moving to our agenda. Are there any questions? Actually, I should probably get a mover for this first, which is the chair. So myself can have a seconder for that. Katie? Are there any questions, comments, concerns with regards to the agenda? Yes, Katie?
I was hoping to add the board outreach plan somewhere on the agenda.
Okay. Is it for information or for discussion?
For discussion and approval if possible.
Sounds good. We'll add it as willing to motion to add it. Add it under 2.6. Do you want to make that motion?
Yes. I'll motion to add the board outreach plan as a discussion decision item to be approved for the ownership consultation committee.
Sounds good. I will second that. Are there any questions with regards to this? Any? So motion to amend the agenda. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay.
Can't click the button, but I'm in favor.
Sorry, Jeff, you cut out there a little bit.
He says he's in favor.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, back to the original agenda. Are there any other items, questions, or discussion? Not seeing any. All those in favor of the agenda as amended, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on to conflicts of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest people would like to declare at this time? Seeing any? For the consent agenda, I think you had put in the chat there for the winter 2024 meeting dates that just we don't have the academic schedule yet. So I guess I will motion to table that item until the next meeting, but I have a seconder for that. Okay. All those in favor of tabling it, please raise your hand. Sounds good. And by consensus, the rest of the consent agenda, just taking a motion now. All those in favor for the other 2 items, those being.
I'd like to speak to.
Yes, I did have a point about the minutes. Just that Chevin was also added to the advocacy committee. Was the one thing I noticed in the minutes. Are there any others? Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeff.
I made some other minor grammatical and a few factual changes to the draft that Mike dropped in the board chat, I think a week or 2 ago. If we add in Chevin's appointment to the advocacy committee to that version, I assume all members here have access to it. Would we be amenable to adopting that version instead?
You said you put that in the WUSA chat.
Mike sent it.
Okay, I'm just seeing it here. It still only says Alex in that one, but I guess. Okay. I guess we can split these up. Because we discussed the minutes are outside of the consent agenda, technically speaking. So for the last item in the consent agenda, which is the 2024 general election dates, I'm going to move ahead with that one as it is. So all those in favor for the consent agenda, which is just that one item now. Raise your hand. Good. All those opposed? Any? Okay, so getting back to the Jeff a second to find a seat.
Wait, sorry, we just passed it, right?
We passed the election date. The consent agenda, anytime we discuss an item inside the consent agenda, technically gets removed from the consent agenda.
Right, because I just noticed it says Senate by-election. This is for board, right?
In the election states,
Yeah.
we also approved the Senate election.
Yeah.
That was a title typo, sorry.
Oh. Anyway, back to the minutes. Is everyone okay with going forward with the minutes that were presented in the board chat? Plus with the addition of Kevin. Okay.
Number one. I think I remember in my request the steps outside.
Yeah, I believe you did as well. Yeah.
Wait, I'm wondering if this should be separate, but I've noticed in the board policy manual, in the board meeting section, number 10, we have the policy, the votes of individual directors shall be recorded in the minutes of board meetings. We haven't been doing that.
Can you repeat that?
In the board meeting section of the policy manual,
Yeah.
we have, for number 10, the votes of individual directors shall be recorded in the minutes of board meetings. We haven't been doing that. So I'm fine if we don't change the minutes this time to reflect it, because that's a lot of work going back. But going forward, we should be following policy.
Right on that. Duly noted. Thank you.
Sounds good, Jeff.
I think at least for these minutes, all of the votes were unanimous. So
Yes. Okay. So getting back to it. So the one presented in the chat with the amendments of Jay sending his regrets and the fact that Kevin was added to the advocacy committee are the two voted changes. Are there any others?
I believe one piece is if the case was that Kevin was appointed, we discussed this earlier. We didn't think anyone was appointed. We thought that appointment wasn't made. I think there was a little bit of confusion that we had whether the sort of removal or that director that used to have that seat was public yet. But you might want to remove the item on the agenda then that is the appointments of somebody new at that place. Because I don't think we have vacancy then.
There's a vacancy to be filled on elections and referendum, and then also at-large members. So it's all in one motion, I think. But so
Is there vacancy?
The advocacy committee, there was no motion submitted. It all came in.
Thought we had a motion that was on advocacy.
there is a motion in there. It just didn't have anyone's name in case we missed it out from last time, or to like fix the confusion.
Oh, okay, that was your intention. Okay.
Actually, I think Mike might have written it, and I submitted it.
Okay. Besides those, getting back to the agenda, besides those two updates that need to be made, are there any other comments, questions, concerns? Okay, sounds good. I think we'll move forward with the minutes then as amended. And we'll get you the review or the fixed copy for the next meeting. We'll also go. Okay. So All those in favor of moving forward with the minutes as amended, please raise your hand. Good. Would you like me to take it by consensus? We will now list off. No, it does make sense. Okay, so now moving on to new business. So the off-campus housing stance. This is Katie. Traditionally speaking, this is something that was already discussed at the advocacy committee and was quasi-approved in the sense that it was approved in a meeting that didn't technically legally reach quorum, maybe. So in which case it would have also been included in the consent agenda. But it's just here now for the board to approve as a whole. That way it can be moved forward with rather than having to go back to the same committee again. Are there any questions, comments, concerns? I should probably get a seconder for that first. Chevin?
Can I speak to it?
Yep, go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so following the advocacy positions committee, technically we would have reached quorum, but there was a little bit of complication within that. Essentially, after that meeting, we had some more suggestions and edits provided. So what you see right now, if you click on the live doc version of it, for be it resolved at motion, you'll see that there are still some slight ongoing edits. And of course, that may mean you might not be approving it as it looks right now, as we are still trying to make those small edits. But this motion that I'm putting forward is one that I hope that we can approve in the spirit of what this document stands for. So a lot of the different details in the summary and the different domains that our stance has been broken down into includes affordability, awareness of tenant rights, and securing housing. That will all stay the same, though there will just be some slight additions of new paragraphs of information that will support our stance moving forward. And moving on to the future advocacy position committee, we will invite anyone from their designated cluster to also come review the stance before it gets submitted to the committee for approval, and then move towards board for approval as well.
Any questions? Seeing any? Move forward with approval then. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Those opposed? Jeff, I didn't see you vote either way. Are you?
I was in favor.
Okay, sorry.
Can I add one last comment? I'll present it back to everyone once the edits and suggestions are accepted. So that way you guys see it before it's published anywhere or sent out to anyone.
Sounds good. So next item is the appointment of committee members submitted by Katie. I have a seconder for that. Katie, take it away.
All right, so apparently I also submitted one for elections and referendum. So we're good for that. But there's three, question. Before I move forward, I know this is something that I technically submitted, but I was more aware of the one that was going to be for advocacy and at large. Yes, Mike, please jump in.
Hello, can you hear me okay? Okay. So we put out a role description posting for the elections committee. 4 people applied. There are 3 at-large seats to fill and 1 director seat. I was wondering what we could do is we could nominate the 3 best at-large candidates and 1 director, or if no directors want to sit on this committee, if you wanted to waive the small procedure and allow an at-large student to have that seat. Amanda is the remaining director seat on the committee. It's not as important that that all the director seats are filled on that committee, as it's not a typical governing committee in the way the others are. It's more of a operational, decisive committee when it comes to election procedures. So the decision in this is, do you want to move forward with filling a blank with a director and 3 at-large students, or just 4 at-large students? I'll
Okay.
let Rory
Thank
pose the
you, Mike.
question to the room.
Sounds good. So I guess that's a question for the room. I would probably say the best course of action would probably be is if there is a director who would be interested in sitting on that committee who is, as is stated in the motion, would not be interested in running again for re-election next term, then I'd probably recommend going with the 3 directors, or 1 director and 3 at large. But as is, what I think is that everyone's intention is potentially to run, or at least still wanting to leave that option available for themselves. I don't think there would be anyone and be able to go on the committee, and thus we should probably go with the 4 at-large members, but I open it up to everyone else's opinions. Yeah.
Can we have a profile for these at-large students? Like, who are these people?
Mike, do you have a profile for them?
I do. A couple are in legal studies. I don't want to sort of go through their applications on the meeting itself, but they all sort of wrote relatively great descriptions. I picked the top 3 in the case of 1 director wanting a seat, but 4 are sort of adequate candidates if you wanted to go that route.
Is this a permanent change or just for this governing year?
Be for governing year. So until April 2020. Yeah.
I guess if no one
I guess.
wants to fill it.
Yeah.
In that case, Mike, we still have 1 extra candidate, right?
Nope.
No? I thought there were 4 applications and
Oh.
3 on here.
So that's the question of, instead of filling it with
Oh.
a director, we could fill it with an at-large.
Sorry,
member,
I
which
was
would-
looking at the top. Even though it's my motion. Okay, in that case, since the elections part has already been discussed by Mike, thank you, Mike, for all of the help. I'll just quickly talk about the advocacy committee as well. So technically we were missing 2 board members on advocacy, but since that appointment will now be for Chev and Alex officially, if we can make note of that in this motion as well, or I will go back and edit it. And then Tham and I looked over potential applicants for the at-large membership on the committee. Tham chose 3, and then I made the final decision to appoint the following at-large member in that motion. So that is everything.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, we should just go ahead and amend the motion then. I assume, based on what I'm hearing or not hearing from everyone, that we're okay with that. So then, yeah, I will motion to amend it so that it is the second option that is located there, which will stipulate the addition of 4 at-large members for the governance committee and leave the 1 director as is, and make the second, be it further resolved for the second month. I assume we have to count as 2 separate motions, actually.
You mean
Like I can't, like this motion and that motion
the motion to put someone on advocacy committee?
versus governance. So that would be a motion.
Yeah.
And then that would be.
I thought you're not planning to put anybody on that. Oh, it's
We
still the
have
at-large.
at-large.
I see what you're saying. Yes, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess we'll go ahead and move that first motion for the filling of, yep. Sorry.
This is just a question. So if we go with the second one, does that mean Amanda becomes chair by default and there's no vice chair?
Directors aren't chair to begin with. That traditionally was chaired by the governance manager, so Esther, but I think Mike might be the chair currently in her absence, which is why he sort of did a lot of the at-large search.
Access.
So I will move forward with that motion then to approve the 4 at-large members. Can I have a second for that? Katie?
Can I? Yeah, never mind.
All those in favor, expand. It's unanimous. And for the second motion, I'm going to, I guess, motion to amend first. For the second, be it resolved that board reaffirm Chevin's position on the committee. Okay, I have a second for that amendment. Katie? Those in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. Those opposed? Seeing any, also takes it by consensus. And then we will move that motion. Have a second for that. Any final discussion? Seeing any? All those in favor? It also takes by consensus. It'd be so much easier to put everything in the consent agenda. Okay. Moving on to the student feedback submission by Alex. I have a seconder for that discussion item. Katie. Alex, take it away.
Okay, so I trust everybody in this room had a chance to go over the notice of motion, so I don't need to read it out loud. But basically, we're in a unique situation with this blessing and a curse of the dual role, that being student representation and fiduciary responsibility. This motion is aimed at hopefully providing directors a chance to be student representative all the way up in WUSA, at least from a student perspective, being through this board. Basically this motion here is hopefully aimed at directors for directors. Basically, we're all in very different places at this school. We're in different programs, we're in different clubs, we're just in different groups of people. And it gives us a chance to keep our fingers on the pulse of the student body. So I think opening up perhaps giving this structure in our board reports would give us a chance to voice any relevant feedback we deem necessary. Sort of like what we already do with our direct reports.
Sounds good. I know that governance committee had already sort of planned to take a deep dive into governance reports and sort of the review mechanisms when it comes to accountability for directors. And I guess I'm just wondering, Jeff, how much you think this can be incorporated into those discussions? Because I know those are planned for our next governance meeting.
I guess I might answer that in the form of another question to Alex. Do you see this more as like highlighting issues that directors? Could you speak more to how you would see that? Because I think this might be a separate thing entirely, like not really so much in reporting, but more of an info section, if what I'm understanding is correct.
Yeah, I see this honestly as like I think what you're trying to get at is as a report mechanism. It's a chance to share info that each of us is privy to and that we deem is important for us to hear together as a board. Does that help answer the question?
Go ahead, Jeff.
What could you to help us all understand a bit better? What would you see as something that would go in this type of report that wouldn't belong in the an initial report, or is this more of an emphasis?
In an initial report being a direct report?
What we have now, I guess.
Right. So this I would see more so as it's a personal level. So what each of us are getting off of our own groups of people. So like, a bit on the spot here, but basically if you're hearing, for instance, discussions in the student body about what groups of students would like, it's a chance to take that sort of informal grassroots clumps of feedback and incorporate it in a chance for the entire board of directors to see and inform whatever they want to do. Just an easier way for more pieces of feedback to get all the way up through us as student representatives. some sense.
I like the idea. I'm just thinking, why do you want it to be in the public director reports and not its own agenda item? Like, oh, Jay used to have that like public communications piece or something that would come recurring every term. Why is it in director report instead of something like that?
I'm amendable to put, I think I bolded it to be in the public director report just because it's already a formatted piece that's there. But honestly, I think it would be great in the agenda itself, if that's what you're getting at. Open to anything.
So basically, is this something that's going to be filled out by directors, like what we hear from the student body, and then we fill out this report?
Exactly. It's what each of us hear. It's a way for us to shoot it right into the board for the other elected student representatives to gather thoughts and feedback and mull over what other people are hearing. Just information sharing at a high level.
And Matthew?
Hi. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I also 100% agree with the logic behind it, but I feel like that's something we can already put in our public director reports for the most part. And I'm wondering, is this going to be a separate section under each of our own personal director reports to have some sort of a relevant student issues section? Yeah.
Yeah, so can I speak to that? So if it were to go under as a separate section, right, the whole idea of this motion is that no one's doing it at a director level. It's like, I'm not doing it either. It's just not being done at a board level. So if this were a separate section under the director reports, it's a chance for, if you have specific student feedback, thoughts and concerns or ideas that you're hearing, it's a chance for then you to bring it right in.
Okay. I would say, like, it could make sense to just make it clear in some way that we are also allowed to report on those things in the public reports instead of having a separate section possibly. I'm not sure, like, it's up to what everybody else thinks as well. That's my 2 cents.
Is your recommendation, Sandra?
Thanks. I have a question and then a suggestion. Alex, is the purpose to bring things to the attention of the board so the board does something with it, or just to provide information?
So I think right now that's a good question. I would say it's for information sharing, right? For decisions to be made and stuff like that. I think that's better served for a staff report, which I feel like we might get to in the same discussion, maybe. I don't know. But I see it just as information sharing purposes only.
And no decision, it's just awareness raising.
Exactly.
Okay, so then I do have a suggestion. What some other organizations might do, and it's not bad practice to have the board somehow be able to get something that is grounding you in the decisions. So they'll sometimes have a story at the beginning of the meeting, and it could be a student story, and it could be something that you're hearing, but the purpose of it is just to talk about something that you may have heard, a good thing, a bad thing, just to get, and sometimes you want to balance it with a compliment and an issue, but there's no real discussion about it. It's just giving you information of what might be happening in a particular area. And one way you may want to handle it is if you have a student story, and you may come up with a better word, if you have that at the beginning of your meeting, and if each of you took a turn so that you're only dealing with one student story at a time, it may help you ground you in the decisions. And so that would be my suggestion on how you want to handle it. If it truly is for raising awareness purposes, I offer that.
Can I ask a question back to Sandra? So if this is for information sharing purposes, are you saying that sharing stories that's just for information, or that's to inform decisions at a board level?
Well, you may have something, let's say you found from the area that you're representing that a lot of students are talking about a particular issue, or they really like something that had happened. So you're sharing that back with the board. That may help with decisions that the board needs to make going forward, but it's just information. If there's something that you have to do about that particular item you're bringing forward, as you have said, it's better served on either your regular director report or your or a staff report if there's something that has to be done with it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I can give you another example. With the Kids Ability Board that I sit on, we have a patient and family story at the beginning of each of our meetings. And all it is either something good that happened with treatment or something that was challenging. And there's no discussion or debate at the board about it. It just reminds us of why we're here and why we're here as a board doing what we're doing.
I want to tie back to what you said in the beginning, Alex, about how like we're all in obviously different student groups. We reach out to different like bodies of students.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's only like 11 of us.
Yeah.
And even though we still have we reach out to a large amount of students, there's still a large amount of students that none of us reach out to. So I feel like if we do these, we're in a sense where directors are the ones like writing the reports. It's as if we're like, there's basically a lot more students that don't have access to us, you know? So wouldn't it be a better idea to make it like a public, let's say like a concerns and complaints type of section?
Like a public forum?
Yeah, where like students could we have like 30,000 undergrads, you know?
Right.
I know that might be a bit hectic and it might be like hectic to control it, but it's kind of similar to what we're doing at the town hall. But for us to just be regularly like keeping up with what students have to say, basically.
I would defer that to a representative. That survey that goes up. I think that's the best way. Right now we reach students, 30,000.
Represent platform survey.
I'll go to Matthew.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a question to get a bit of clarification. We chatted about this briefly previously, but sort of some things that came to mind. I just wanted to want a little bit more certainty of what you were thinking of the sort of things that we'll put on here. So for example, if you're hearing from some students, that'd be really, really cool if Lockstock serves more Greek style food. Is that something somebody put on here? Just a sort of out of the blue example.
I think this, personally, no.
No.
I think this would stem back to what each director feels that is worth passing on. I personally would trust these 11 board members to defer their judgment to what they see fit to pass on as student feedback.
Can I take Alex off the spot and give an example of what I think he's asking for? I've had someone who's been talking to me about a bunch of problems they have with co-op and concerns they have that they've been bringing to me, like concerns with they have a resume writing program or help program or whatever, and it's talking about how that's can sometimes be active, they feel it can sometimes be actively harmful, that sort of thing, right? Put that on the report.
Exactly.
Okay. And I was gonna say to Ahmed's point, does it have to be on the representative survey platform? Can it not be just a little form they fill out on WUSA's website?
Right, Matthew.
That was actually somewhere I was going to try to get a little bit, because I talked with Suzanne about this a little earlier, and some of the thought around it seems like there's an appetite and some gaps in terms of the ability for students to raise those things here, and that's something that's been identified. So trying to look at more ways to do that, and sort of give students a forum to bring up where they're doing that. And I know we talked a little bit around these, roundtable town hall things we might do on a regular basis, but there's something a little bit more continual and asynchronous around a feedback form. So as it stands, WUSA has a feedback form on its website that I think the consensus around is that it, as it stands, could use being a little more robust, to put it in a nice way. So that's something I was thinking of making a priority of mine, hopefully working with IT to manage that, to flesh that out. Number one, so there's a lot more of a more sophisticated platform that students can raise those things, both operational things like WUSA, as well as things that are that could point us to where there might be an issue, where we should be looking for further investigation or advocacy. And then the sort of thing that came up was we can prepare around submissions to a more sophisticated form. We can prepare a report that we can include with the board, that at a high level could take a look at how we're doing with our student feedback and sort of what areas we're getting feedback in. And then if it's operational things, the number and how long it takes us to do that kind of thing. So as an accountability mechanism, that your organization is responding to student feedback, But then around ones that raise student issues, like the ones you mentioned around co-op, that's something we pull out there and bring those up specifically. What are the specific things we're getting? What are the specific things we're hearing that might point to where there's an issue? Because as you point out right now, a lot of those things come through word of mouth, but that's on its point not sufficient if those students don't have that access to the directors. So that was something in mind. That was something I wanted to ask Alex also if this would meet a lot of those sitting places where it's sitting at and where there's those gaps.
Can I jump in on that?
Go ahead.
Jeff had his hand
No,
up
go ahead.
for longer, but I can just immediately. I'm trying to keep the entity of this motion from being stretched into separate objects the best I can. That's a fantastic idea. We should definitely pursue it. We should definitely do it. However, this is simply just a method for directors to serve their student representative function, right? 30,000 undergrads didn't vote for us. Unfortunately, a proportion of that 30,000 did. This is a chance for us to give back to those who we can connect with at a personal level and voice it. It doesn't have to inform, as Sandra mentioned, it doesn't necessarily have to inform decision-making or what we delegate back to staff or anything like that. It doesn't have to also cut staff off on the toes. It's just a chance for us to push it back at a board level, bring it up.
Jeff?
I was actually initially just going to ask some questions to Suzanne regarding what Matthew just covered around what sorts of feedback we're seeing and if we can see future reports to the board. But I think Matthew's covered just about everything. I'll still toss one question so we can hear from Suzanne about have we seen, I guess, do you have any thoughts about the feedback form that's current capacity, like how much feedback we actually see flowing through that and how it's being routed and all that?
That's a couple of different ways. I'll go the first one in terms of the feedback form. And I think we recognized when we did it, it was an interim measure to put something up there, recognizing that we wanted a place for students to have a spot for them to go and provide us with feedback and for us to respond to it. I don't know if Mar is on the call, but I know that I talked to him yesterday or the day before about the number of folks that were using that form, and I think it's about 2 to 3 a week, and that the turnaround time is pretty quick on that. And again, we can work on that form being a better way to share that information forward and be able to pull information out. But right now, it's literally a place for someone to bring something up that they have a concern and for us to respond to it. The intent is for it to become more sophisticated for sure.
Just has his hand up. And
yeah, we've been that form's been up for a couple of months. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep.
So the form's been up for a couple of months. We get an average of 2 to 3 a week. It's pretty easy to find form under our Contact Us page. It's a simple form, just requires the student's email and what feedback they have. We've had feedback from selection items in our stores, like at the dispensary, from pharmacy students, to feedback at in regards to lineups at certain events. So definitely we're responding to each of these feedbacks personally to the students. We get the appropriate manager involved and make sure that if there is a remedy, we're taking care of that member. And if it's a suggestion, we're definitely taking that feedback and collectively putting those things together to improve our service. I think moving forward, there's other things that we also doing in terms of when it comes to our experiences, all our packaged food in the commercial. If you've ever purchased something that we make in-house under the price label, it says email us at feedback@wusa.ca. So those are other data points that we obviously are always monitoring. However, we can definitely enhance feedback organizationally as we move forward. For example, if someone attends an event, how did we do? I mean, our Uber transactions for your meal has a star rating, right? So that is on our roadmap as we work towards our member experiences, putting in a direct feedback loop for our members to provide that feedback so we can obviously measure, see patterns, and make meaningful decisions.
Thank you. If you just add a little bit more to add.
Yeah, the last little bit to add to the sort of coordinated staff response there is also our academic concerns form. I believe it's relatively new and comes from the advocacy department. And it gives a place for students to raise academic issues they're having, particularly surrounding courses or things like that. Asks for details, contact information, so that we can connect with them if they're comfortable with that around the concern, as well as like permission to share the information with their faculty society, potentially, or other things like that. The biggest problem facing this one right now is visibility, and that's sort of part of that piece of sophistication. That is something that I'd like to turn some attention to, and it sounds like there's an appetite for, but that's another piece of the sort of strategy. And the responses from this are raised, I believe, to our advocacy team.
That's good.
It's something that could be also a component of, if that's something the board's interested in, reports that could come to the board table about academic issues and reports that students are reporting. And we can make that a big priority, particularly when it gets more visible and it gets good response. That's something that could also highlight a lot of the students report if that's desired.
Okay, go ahead, Jen.
I'm looking at the form and it's course specific, so wouldn't that be better going to the student societies?
Generally, yes, there's a piece in there about making sure people are comfortable with sharing it. So that's probably why it hasn't been heard of as much here. I'm not too in the know about this one, to be honest. I'm just relaying the information that I'm finding now. And that's sort of what I speak to also about the sophistication is sort of having a little bit of more avenues and being a little bit more general so that they can bring wider array of these things.
Back to the motion. I'm in favor of it, but like Alex, are you open to a friendly amendment of making it its own agenda item rather than
like it would go like new business and it's a
either like Sandra's idea or just letting it be its own piece?
Yeah, I think originally that was my idea, and then it melded into I'm down for whatever.
Yeah.
Just suggesting, why don't you give it a try? Put it at the top of your agenda, and Alex can be the first one to try it, so you see what comes forward next time. And maybe I can't make an amendment. Maybe you try it for the next 3 or 4 meetings and see how it works, and go from there. I think it's good. I think it's a great idea to ground you in the discussions you need to have.
Alex, yep.
I know we're finally sort of making our way slowly but surely back to this. I just want to really reiterate it. I can't stress this enough. This isn't aimed at all to sneak around our RSP or any staff reports or any further staff reports. It's just meant as the student representative aspect of the board. That's it.
I have a question. So how, if we put it just like Sandra said at the beginning, how do you want to go about it? Is it like a section where each director tells, for example, their stories? Is just like the reports where it's like the directors will read it, but like we won't go into like further discussion.
I see it as if you have something to share, share it. If there's nothing there to be shared, don't make it so, right? Like it's not a big deal. But like, for instance, like if you were like in tuned with a group of students who were raising concerns, it would be a safe opportunity put enshrined right on our agenda for you to bring forward whatever you think is important as a director.
One more question. So basically, you think it would be a smart idea to also have like a similar version of it in the confidential section? Just in case there's items that students have concerns about where the director makes their own judgment and sees that it's more appropriate to be discussed in the confidential session instead.
I mean, we have public director reports and we have confidential director reports, right? So I don't see why not either. Good idea.
Okay. Any more discussion? You said that you wanted to amend.
Yeah, I'm working on it. It's full acknowledgement.
The language. Okay. Are you taking that as a friendly amendment, Alex? Sure.
I added a second part, just so it's the piece of a different draft does each one.
You want to just do it to one director report each time, like one director each time?
Yeah.
Better. Having everyone tell a story?
If you don't have anything, you don't have to share anything. Are we on that same page?
What if more than one director?
Defending is that one person give one story or at the start of each meeting rather than having everyone go and give.
Right, like, can I just jump in again? If you want to share it, right, like we don't sit around at the table and read off our direct reports to everyone. You just type it down and you read it. So I think there's value in sharing a story. Sure, we can do that. I think there's value in just, if you have feedback to write down the feedback. If you don't have feedback to write down the feedback.
So instead of this replacing the thing, do you want it in addition to it?
Replacing what, sorry?
So instead of doing the thing at the beginning, you want it in addition to having also that like little report of student feedback.
Everything's best.
If it's your motion.
I don't know what is. I don't know what's happened anymore.
My question is,
I don't know where we are. I'm not gonna lie.
I really appreciate your honesty.
No, like whatever's working.
Okay. I think Sandra has her hand up, so I'll let Sandra go first.
Sorry, I think because I probably muddled it a little bit. I understood what Alex wanted to accomplish is that you've got some place that you're telling a student perspective, and I like how Tim's labeled it. And so each one of you would take a turn at a different meeting, giving that student perspective, in addition to including in your director reports any of the feedback that you're hearing. If you do it the other way around, where each of you might have an opportunity to say something, you're just moving all your director's reports, I fear, to the beginning of the meeting, which I don't think that was the intent, Alex. You wanted to be able to share information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spot on.
Okay.
My question is, what if like, how are we going to determine like which director has which meeting? Because like we have like, we're doing monthly meetings right now. We have like less amount of months than amount of directors that we have. And on top of that, like, let's say like some months, like a couple directors have space to share or something.
I think it'd work out almost perfectly to two directors a meeting. Mm-hmm. That works for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. That is, we'll go ahead. Alex, are you wanting to start it off next meeting then?
I would love to.
I don't know who I'm asking this question. So this would just be for this board, and then next board they would.
They would have the option, I guess, to continue it if they wanted to. Yes.
Maybe just make it as a like unfinished business, like I did for the marketing thing. It's like unfinished business and with a no end date, so it will just go.
Is unfinished business before? Unfinished business before new business or after?
It's before new business.
I think it's normally before new business, which
Yeah, that's where we can put it as well. That way we can approve the agenda and stuff before that as well. Okay. I guess can we take it as a friendly amendment to add it to new business or old business one? Okay. Okay, are there any other comments, questions? Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to clarify. So we're doing Alex's original motion, but if you're friendly to it, it becomes its own item in unfinished business.
Yes.
Do you also want Sandra's piece about the story at the beginning, or just unfinished business? Just so I know what we're voting for.
Sandra says it's part of the would it? You'd probably want it after the agenda, wouldn't you, Sandra?
Either after the agenda, after the approval, you can do your agenda approval, or do it just before there. Do your territorial acknowledgement, your student perspective, and then do your agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, have it right up front, and it's no more than 5 minutes. So it's not a dissertation. It's a 5-minute at the most.
So everybody's sharing and someone's speaking. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think 2 of you are sharing. You
Yeah.
decided that there'd be 2 directors each time, and so you're up for next time, and somebody else can join you, and then so you'd have two stories, and each of you, they could be the same, they could be similar stories, or they could be 2 different stories. But you're just trying to ground people in what's happening with the students. Yeah, that's all.
I think that's wonderful.
Okay. We'll go back to the original motion. I think that Tam had put in the chat. Okay.
I'm still confused. So is it just what I put in chat, or does it include that first original piece as well?
Just original piece. Alex's? I think it would just be what you put in chat as long as Alex is amenable to those amendments.
Yep. So 2 directors speak. People put in input if they want to put in input. Yes.
Yes. And then any other updates could just on your director.
In the reports, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then it's his thing and what I put in chat as well.
Okay, so
I think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
okay, got it.
Oh no, Rory is like
And
in turmoil.
be
Processing.
further resolved. Okay. So Alex, you're moving, be it resolved that the board approve the addition of a student feedback section within the public director report item of WUSA's regular board meetings. Be it further resolved, board approves the addition of a student feedback item titled Student Perspective following the territorial acknowledgement, where 2 directors share 1 feedback story from WUSA membership. And then be it further resolved again that the directors change every meeting where no director goes twice.
Yes. Well done, everyone.
Can I have a second? Seconder for that? Maybe. Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Opposed? Seen any? Okay. On to item 2.4. I hope you all took a chance to just read it through quickly. Again, this is something that I given a general idea that would be coming forward at the previous meeting. I'd been filled in, I guess, a little bit more information since the writing of this notice. So the university, in close collaboration with some students on campus, have started a fund and collected money towards a tree. And then based on the amount of money that they raised, they have also floated the idea of a scholarship or a endowment fund set up in her name. And so seeing that, I didn't think it was probably WUSA's place to do either of those things really. And rather this would be another separate way that WUSA could, reflect and also sort of, I don't know what the exact correct language would be, but memorialize, I guess, stuff in addition to the statue. And so I guess I will Looking for a second. We'll open up to the floor for any questions, comments. Yes, Jay.
I was browsing like what scholarship that day, and I found there's a scholarship called WUSA Leadership Award that award to a few students every year.
Yes.
And the scholarship amount is $1,000, so that might be a good indicator of the amount of money.
Yeah. And yeah, that was something that I looked to, and the idea would be to give the award at the same time that we do the leadership awards.
Is this term?
It's yearly leadership awards, yes.
I'll throw out a starting number then. How do you feel about 2,000?
Two questions, I guess. What is the source of the funds? Just so we know, I guess, how much we can start talking about. And secondly, what is the group that is responsible for the selection of awards?
I believe it would be the same group in charge of the selection of the leadership awards, was my understanding. Mike, I think, is more involved with that, so I'm not sure if Mike would be able to provide some information on the selection.
Okay, making sure my audio is on. We're currently weirdly without a committee that approves the WUSA Leadership Awards, just because it was in the old governance model, but we will happily sort of bring one together. It's not too hard to like bring together a selection committee. The WUSA Leadership Awards only happen once a year, and that selection usually happens in mid-February-ish, and the awards given out in early March. So it is a committee that could be just like an acting one group that's brought together to approve said things. And I will note that the Leadership Award is not a scholarship, just a recognition award up to for about 10 individuals.
Jay?
The one I was talking about is called WUSA Engagement Award. It has up to 3 awards, valued at $1,000 each, are awarded annually to full-time undergrad students in Europe at Waterloo.
Yes, so WUSA does currently have an endowment for that award, and that is, we don't actually select it. It's entirely through the...
No, we do.
We do? Oh, well, then I'm...
Student awards and financial aid sent over a group of students that meet the criteria. It's usually.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
So who is selection?
Officers?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did I select you?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. That's why I don't remember doing that. Okay, yes, we have that, and then we also have the Fred Kelly bursary, the 2 scholarships that we currently run, correct? Yes, okay. All right, Kevin?
I was wondering for the leadership award, or under Stephanie's name, are directors also able to review the candidates or like potentially who we're trying to give the award to?
So I guess that is a question for this board, because there currently is no committee that's in charge of selecting the leadership award. I don't know how it's worked historically, but I assume again it would be some mixture of directors and at-large members. I would say probably a good place to potentially look for this is previous executives of WUSA, to maybe see if any of them would be interested in just joining for a 1 or 2 hour meeting where they go through the candidates for selection. Jeff, I know you had your hand up.
Oh, sorry. Just did you speak to the source of funds?
I did not know. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Currently, I guess I would. I think the idea was that initially when it was perceived was that we have a little bit of money unbudgeted for honoraria that obviously won't be spent anymore, and so that would be the first place to potentially look for funds. But obviously that's not a large amount, so I don't know. I guess that would be where I'd start, and if we, depending on how we decide and how long we want to keep it all going, like if the idea would be to do it indefinitely, it might be smarter to go and the endowment route, because that way the investments would sort of pay for the further scholarships or rewards that are given. But I guess I leave that open question to the board. Yes, Alex.
Our current leadership awards $1,000.
Yes, they are currently $1,000, and there's
Engagement award.
engagement award. It's funny because it's called the Federation of Student Engagement Award because it was set up.
Okay.
Up to 3 awards.
Yeah,
Up to 3 awards.
yeah, up to 3 awards.
Each is $1,000.
And yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure if anyone here knows, but how much does it usually? We already talked about setting up an endowment. What is the rough percentage you need to have in order to set up an endowment? Assuming it's meant to be sustainable. I don't know if anybody here knows the answer.
Usually,
I don't know what the percentage breaks down, but the lowest amount they'll accept to make an endowment, I believe, is $10,000.
Some quick math, I guess we have at least 13,500.
Oh, sorry.
I think normally in terms of like endowments, they aim for 3 or 4% in terms of withdrawal rates. Meaning if you put in $10,000, the idea would be you could probably spend $300 or $400 a year without ever, in theory, running out of money, because it would make not only enough money to sustain itself, it would also make just a little bit more than inflation, so the pool would continue to grow over time. And that's how big institutions like Harvard and things like that have billions of dollars in endowments. Yeah.
Just wondering, if we decide to do the endowment fund thing, how many people are we giving the award to, or is it just one person?
I'd probably say one person based on visibility, but I leave that open again to the board. Alex?
If anyone's going to speak to it, I would say I think picking one person per year is wise. Keeping it in a line, because it'll make the award last longer. Keeping it in line with whatever we're giving might make sense. Makes sense.
Yes.
Whatever you're giving yourself.
Who we're giving the award to.
The financial. Sorry, keeping what in mind? I thought, were you speaking to the financial number, keeping that in mind, or was it?
Yeah, it would make the money last longer if we kept it in line with what we're giving out. We did $1,000 instead of $2,000. That would make the fund last longer. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
So an endowment fund, I mean, we can go, I could go back and talk to the university and find out sort of how those things work, how much money we need to, because you are given an amount based on the way the university's investments have done the previous year. So if they've made whatever, and then they'll let you know based on that, this is how much money you have this year to allocate. You can't go into the principal ever.
Oh, okay.
Once you do that, you've given them the money, gone, and then you get the interest to allocate. So if you're interested in a dollar amount, if you want to, if it's $2,000 that you folks think is the right, we can go back and have that conversation about how much money do we need to put in to have that happen. We might need to knock it up sometimes if it's slow. That kind of
Okay. Got it. Great explanation.
Set up an endowment fund, what about just a donation? For example, I have a scholarship to certain in name of a person donate money to me every year. It's like I don't think the person has an endowment fund, it's just donation.
That's the other option too. It's just
If for endowment fund, maybe it requires a large amount of money, right? If you have to pay out interest of $1,000, your principal going to be very large.
Again, like I said, I could go find that out for you and you can make a decision. It's hard for me to know that.
Just based on the information that they gave me on our current endowment funds that we have with the university, I'd say we're looking probably around 25,000, between 25 and 30,000 for that $1,000 a year. And so I guess the options would be I wouldn't even say that we have to go with the university, like, just based on how the math works out, like, we could just set aside that money in theory, right? And invest it, and therefore we'd be acting as our own, I guess, endowment fund in a way. So my recommendation probably should go with the straight donation for however long we set it up for. If there's 12,000 there and we do 1,000 a year, that'd be 12 years initially, and then that'd sort of be my recommendation based on feasibility and what we have available to us at the time.
Just my only question with that would be, if we do want to make this as accessible as possible, we wouldn't be entered into the central reward system if we did it ourselves. We could do our promotion. I'm not sure if that's something to consider.
Consideration.
That's for sure. And I'm proposing let's try to ask that.
I guess because this isn't necessarily time sensitive, unless there are other points people want to bring up, I'll move we table this to the next meeting and kindly ask Suzanne to get us some information around how much we require for different yearly disbursement funds.
Okay. Would you like me to come up with some different options, different ways to fund it for the board to then?
Whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we'll also need some sort of like requirements or criteria for this work. And to say excellent leadership. How do you make?
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we have to have some kind of rules, right?
Okay. Sounds good. Can I have a second for the table motion? Alex? Those in favor? Thank you. Opposed? Any? So move on to the next item, which is item 2.5, extension of temporary account measure. Okay, can I have a second for that? Evan? Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Yes, I can speak to this. It's a continuation of the motion we introduced last time. In the last meeting, we charged the governance committee to bring forward a more permanent proposal. That meeting will happen sometime in the next 2 weeks. Until then, I guess this is just an extension of that basic baseline, same principles as we discussed.
What needs to be different?
Sorry, Jeff, go ahead.
Sure, that was all.
Okay. Sorry.
There goes Ryan's phone.
Something's going on with it, sort of.
Is that same cancel?
Ryan's
He did say cancel, but maybe. Maybe it's Flockstop for dinner. Okay, I think, is there any further discussion on this item here?
I just want to make it clear, like, I accidentally put my director report on the confidential session, like director reports. I don't know why. And even on the confidential session, it's only showing like half of it. So I apologize for that, and I will like, copy and paste it onto the public director report.
Right.
I agree. I just say, as long as the box is, I think the idea is as long as the box is not empty so that you can prove that you are fulfilling your duties as a director, it's fine.
Alex?
For the boxes that are empty, how do we go about this? Like, can anyone speak to like how do we answer that?
I think the idea is, Matthew can jump in if he wants to correct me on anything, but Mike will just statements to those that have met this
I'm sorry.
I think the idea is to incentivize, not
Yeah.
necessarily, the punishment is that you are not getting the money.
No, I get that. It's just, I'm sorry, that was confusing. My question is just like, is there any like level of like informed consent that we need to like tick off on this?
I suppose bring it forward to board meetings
Okay.
twice now, and everybody is aware.
Okay.
So are you asking, like, should we?
Yeah, like yeah, okay, I'll just drop it. If it's good, like, I just don't know if we need to like inform, hey, just so you know.
We probably be a good idea if we are informing in some way. Maybe I'll recommend.
Substantial.
Missing Ansha.
Physically or his report?
Like in withholding an honorarium, like there's a lot of protections around directors already. I'm just, no. Is that okay?
Well, it's an honorarium. It's not like it's our salary.
Sure.
Which is the difference.
I would say from this discussion, like we could make the decision, but perhaps the least that we could do after is we do have Angel's phone number. We could give him a call.
All investigations.
I mean, if we want. I mean, but it's not that bad once the decision is made. It's kind of just like updating anyone who wasn't present. We made this decision now. Now you know.
I think at the end of the day, this is, I guess, board holding itself to account. And it's saying, these are the expectations of the board member. And you can't meet those expectations. Sorry to say that won't be getting your honorarium. I think that's in our responsibility and duty, and we can set those expectations however high or low we want them, I guess.
I can live with it. I was just curious.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, it's his duty as a director to be reading the minutes too. Like, he should have seen it in the last one as well. Like, he shouldn't have.
Okay.
I have a question for Sandra. Is this legal?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
It is. It's holding yourselves accountable. You are given the privilege of a stipend for your positions on the board for doing certain things. And so if you're not upholding those things, you can be withholding it until you go back. It's not, you want everybody to do what they need to be doing. But yeah, it's not a guarantee just because you are a director, you're elected as a director, that you're going to get the money for doing nothing.
So as a person like fill out his report, WUSA cannot hold the money anymore, right?
Sorry, I missed most of that question. I apologize.
Right. What I'm saying is, like, say someone didn't fill out the report today and he did it tonight after the meeting. So WUSA cannot hold his money anymore, right? Have to pay it.
Yes.
Even it's late.
Yeah,
even it's like
if you,
20 days
if you
late.
do it. Yeah. I think the whole idea, how I understand this particular motion, is to begin to hold yourselves accountable to each other to get the work done. If your studies or something happens and you can't finish it, you can't get it done in time, the other piece is communicate. So whether it's to Rory or Katie, letting them know when you're going to have it done. I think you got to give each other a little bit of leeway too, because your course schedules are crazy. As long as you get it done, then you would get your money.
And I just want to make sure that by doing this, the board won't get into any legal troubles, right?
No. Because you are elected as directors, and you are eligible as directors for receiving the honorarium. It's not like it's a paid position, because remember, under ANCA, you as directors, you can't be paid. There are loopholes that you were able to get the stipends that you are getting.
Okay, Matthew.
Yeah, I would say that it's pretty reasonable to have it filled out before the meeting itself, and especially since everyone's probably going to be reading it at the meeting, perhaps that could be made as an amendment. And like speaking to communication, if you can't fill it out, obviously is important, but realistically, filling out the director report should take 5 to 10 minutes aside from the committees. So I I think we could all agree that being a bit more strict there is completely fine.
Sounds good. Are there any other points? Not seeing any.
I'll move that amendment if something we want to see. I'm not sure. It's, I suppose, change it from the by the date of that month's regular board meeting to maybe by when the regular board meeting is called to order. I to be honest, this doesn't. I don't think
Okay.
this is a big deal, but,
Okay, I guess.
just based on what Matthew.
I see. I was thinking that this already changed that. I suppose date you can read it.
Yeah,
Date and time.
there's. Yeah.
You can put date and time in it now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And, yeah, adding and time, I suppose.
Sounds good. Your motion to amend. Have a second for that. All those in favor of the amendment? By consensus? Okay. And those in favor now of the amended motion, please raise your hand. Need everyone again? Okay. I'm going to motion that we break for a 15-minute break. I think our food order has been canceled, so I think we'll just take a clock stop for tonight. And so I think that's the plan. Okay. Is there any second for that? 80? Yeah, all those in favor of a 15-minute break.
Can I say something before we yeah, not to vote against dinner, but how long what else do we have left in the board meeting apart from reports and the one item?
I think Chevin also has to head for.
Got never mind. Okay. Sorry. Gotcha.
But not that much is left, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We haven't voted.
Oh,
Those in favor.
Go. Do someone. Kevin, do you still want food?
All good. So item 2.6, which is the item that we added at the start when we approved the agenda. So I'll pass it over to Katie now.
All right, thank you. So essentially, the item that I was hoping to get approved today is the board outreach plan. The board outreach plan, as it is summarized on the document, is a way for board members to engage more with the membership and also for the ownership consultation committee to engage in more ongoing work throughout the year. So the board outreach plan was passed unanimously. Thank you. I can never say that word. At OCC, and it features first board outreach concerns or board outreach member goals, which was information that we collected through the one-on-ones that we did with everyone with Help for Mike. And then it also includes information about current ongoing strategic plans, including current ongoing strategic plans from marketing and communications, and then also strategic recommendations for different sections, one for marketing and comms, another for research and advocacy, third for director-specific tasks or more events or opportunities related to campus-like engagement, and the fourth is ongoing committee work or committee ongoing work that OCC can pursue throughout the year. And then finally, avenues to connect with board members to achieve some of the recommendations as well. So we did consultations with board members as well as got feedback from staff on what was possible and what was not possible and what made the most sense to pursue as a committee. So we've had input from marketing and comms. We've also had input from research and advocacy, which was good. And then essentially I've come back today to pass it. And then that's all I have to say, I guess.
Sounds good. Questions, comments, concerns in the room? Katie.
I do have one more thing to add. If you are on the document, you'll notice that underneath the timeline section of the different tables, there are texts highlighted in yellow, which says suggested priority. Essentially, that is what the committee would start with as soon as it gets approved or planned for once it gets approved. Now I'm done.
Are you in charge of putting together the Discord case?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Right now, they're just adjusted priorities. So, for example, we are currently engaging in the town hall and fulfilling that event as well. And there is an announcement later today talking about that. Essentially, if the first town hall that we do is also successful, hopefully that's something that OCC can pick up as well. So it's less dependent on full-time staff and it's more committee work into the future. I didn't really answer the Discord question, but we'll see.
Okay. Yes.
This is for the committee, but maybe it's a discussion. I think it'd be a good idea to get that started before election stuff. Like, an immediate priority for the committee.
I'll put it.
That's good. Okay, Katie working. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any. Okay. I guess we'll move that question then. All those in favor of approving this, please raise your hand. That's consensus. Okay, any opposed? And any? So moving on to general reports. So report 3.1, my report. Hope you all took a chance just read it through beforehand. Important information up there. I think the big thing is MOU, working on that with COPS. Have our meeting next week, so hopefully we'll be able to get that all signed off. I haven't heard anything from any of the societies, so hopefully that means that all of the revision stage is all done and we're the final stages there. I don't think this was in my report itself, but I'll just throw it in the chat. The university has released their survey results from their SES survey and some of their other surveys, and they put it together in sort of a comprehensive overview of everything. I'd say that the most important information is on pages 4 to 8. They really focus on the information both from previous years and then how they've changed. Particularly, if you look on page 8, you can see workload and living for students. I'd say are probably some of the worst metrics that have come out. Like, for example, your academic workload is manageable. Only 45% of students said yes. I have enough time to complete all my work, 41%. I have enough time for self-care, 55%. I have enough care for sleep. It's currently at 39.8%. And hopefully the university, in my meetings that I've been having with them, have been taking this into consideration. And I think, as they would say, that some of these statistics are kind of shocking to see. That's not to say that there haven't been any improvements or other metrics that have improved, but it is something, I guess, just for everyone to be aware of, as I'm sure most of you have been when it comes to listening to students. And yeah, I guess I'll sort of open it up to the floor if there are any questions about my report or things that people want me to elaborate on. Guess I'm not seeing anything. We can move on then to Katie's report.
Talk about it. So from October 2nd to 6th, had more meetings with Town and Gown for prep for our new working groups, as well as some different events that were happening in October. October 10th to 13th was a lot of WUSA delegate training because we had the WUSA GA coming up very soon, as well as steering committee meetings, as well as regular staff meetings for other ongoing work. October 16th to 20th, a lot more Town and Gown work to finalize all of the detailed scopes and goals of the working group for international student support. There was the Ontario University's Fair as well. I attended Saturday, or I attended Sunday. And then October 23rd to 27th, UCRU regular board meetings. So UCRU will have a federal lobby week in February between the 12th to the 16th. And then in the future, so kind of like this week is just other ongoing meetings and different events that I will be attending. And then projects, again, as a reminder in my report, the town hall, ideally for all of those who indicated that they could attend, please arrive around 5 and be prepared to stay there for around 2 hours if you can.
Sounds good. Any questions for Katie?
Right, what's the Eagle Canada Symposium?
It was something that I also sent out to you guys, I think a couple of days ago. It was like an online, where it was a virtual symposium about, I can try to see if I can pull up the email, but it was essentially like this online symposium or forum where they had different panelists talking about how to create more inclusive campuses. I'm not sure if you guys remember that one. I sent it, I think, the day before, but I can pull it up again. And if I forgot to send it, I can. Yeah, maybe I didn't send it. Okay. It could have been in the chat. Let me pull it up, and I will make sure that you guys know what that's about. I'll put it in the board chat. But it was essentially a webinar that went through the entire day, and it talked about centering on 2 LGBTQI plus experiences on campus as well. So maybe that email I had prepped did not send, so that's a mistake. But in the future, for other opportunities and stuff that get sent my way about different symposiums and webinars, I will do my best to share that information with the board as well, so you guys also have an opportunity to engage in those experiences.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? Not seeing any, we'll move on to staff reports. Are there any questions for Suzanne for her report, or any questions about the RSP survey number 5? Not seeing any, we'll move on to the. Oh, sorry, no, go ahead.
Could you talk a bit more about the Stratford bus? Just briefly. Sorry, yes. Yeah. Is this something we're like subsidizing, or is it mostly like a break-even program?
I think this is maybe something that I've worked more closely with when it comes to me and Jill. So in terms of how it operates, it's operated almost entirely through the Faculty of Arts. They had originally approached us because of our operation of FedBus, and they sort of wanted to partner with us because of our expertise in that regard. And so we sort of made the connection of reaching out to the bus companies and seeing about rates and stuff like that. And I think we set up a lot of the stuff on the back end there. But it is almost entirely funded by both a fee that students have to pay to use the service, and then through subsidization through the arts faculty.
Awesome. And is this sort of meant to be like a long-term service, or?
Yeah, I think this is, I think the hope would be that it's more of a long-term. I think as time goes on, I think it'll be more and more incorporated into the University Faculty of Arts. They'll take more and more control of it, because I think just at the start they wanted our help. That's my understanding. Next. Oh, Melissa has her hand up, so go ahead, Melissa.
I was just going to add one piece to that, which is part of the reason for helping to additionally support these folks was sort of within our advocacy priority around housing and transportation, and the fact that a lot of the struggle for the folks out in Stratford is that it's difficult for them to either find a place out there that is cost effective, or here when they have to do the commute back and forth. So it's another piece that we can do to support not only satellite campuses, but some of the struggles those folks are having with housing and transportation. Sorry. So in terms of being able to deploy some additional support there, I think that was another reason that we wanted to be able to sort of help with the resources we already had, and be able to do something additional for those folks.
Any other questions? Comments? Look like you have a pondering face, Alex.
No, I'm just okay.
Okay. On to the director reports then. Are there any questions for your fellow directors? Co-op Connect doing under co-op?
Co-op Connect?
Yeah.
Co-op connection. I think it's just whatever's going on in the Discord right now. I don't think we haven't really gotten any updates on that.
One question on Alex's report, just around the Zoom licenses for clubs and societies. Yeah, in that aspect. Just curious what kind of work has been done on that, and then is it WUSA's IT team, or is it the university's IST team?
Yes. So thanks. This this was all prompted through emails I sent out in early September to IST on UWaterloo side.
Okay.
It created a whole nightmare because that bounced all the way up conveniently to EdTech. Oops. And yeah, my words made a full circle, which is good. So we traced it down. It's a UWaterloo issue, not WUSA. My question from this is, how do we communicate that to clubs and societies? Because I've talked with other clubs and societies like, hey, we actually have resources to provide Zoom licensing because everybody has Teams already, but students and most of these clubs and societies, at least, and you'll be able to speak of this, at least in ASU, most of these clubs love UWaterloo emails. So I found out that UWaterloo does provide licenses through their own IST for Zooms and stuff like that, but it's getting everyone on the same page.
Okay.
There's nothing really said there except for maybe some communication like, hey, did you know? But I'm just poking around, just trying to figure it out.
Sounds good. A little bit more of a, I guess not really for this space, but would love to connect offline too, because as we're building up more supports for societies and building suites of like trying to also build our own infrastructure out and make sure that we're having that adequate resources, getting that centralized, and then we can help with whatever that end result is, the communication to those groups.
My only reason I went through the UWaterloo side was because the EdTech was renewing, or at least starting the investigation on, are we going to, with the end of COVID, do we leave Teams behind? Sorry, do we leave Zoom behind and go Teams? And it's,
Okay. No, I was just more curious. I saw that and I was like, oh, what's going on? Like, what can we do? How can we help it? And knowing truly just the sheer quantity of groups that are out there and the tech that they want to use.
Yeah.
We see that coming through even through clubs purchases on a really weekly basis. Okay. But like different tech that they buy or subscription models and things. Yeah. We're really trying to hone in to be like, okay, do we need, a nonprofit website licensing to try to get everybody a website for a reduced cost, or what Zoom or multimedia platforms that they're using. So would love not a big deal. I appreciate you also doing some of that work, and would love to learn more about some of those conversations too.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thanks.
Good. Any other questions? Not seeing any. Okay. I guess I will motion that we go into confidential session. Is there something for that? Okay, Mike. Okay. Back in public session. Just one announcement on the agenda, which is that roundtables on the 14th. I know many of you are going to be there. As a statement, a matter of fact, you do not have a choice in this. From 5:30 to 7, again, very good opportunity to meet and talk with students. At the end of the day, as Alex pointed out in his item, we are sending them, and we do have that face-to-face time with all of them. Okay. Katie, update.
Are we at announcements?
Let's go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just posting something in the chat one more time on behalf of our research team. So essentially, we're engaging in different consultations for identity-facing papers for the next GA. You can sign up, I believe, again, to be a part of the focus groups for these specific consultations. And if you're interested in that, feel free to follow up with me, Maya, Jill, or Jordan.
Okay. Back to the roundtable. The time is actually 5 to 6:30 and not 6:30 to 7, like I said.
Yes, that was just a mistake in agenda.
It's 5 to 6:30?
5 to 6:30.
You can end the meeting.
Okay. Okay. I call this meeting to adjourn at 8:50.
Wait, we have to vote.
I vote
We have
yes.
to vote to adjourn.
Adjourn. All those in favor?
Yes.